there. Welcome to our Project Bloom Virtual Family Day. We are super excited. This is actually going to be our first of 6 videos today with 6 different artists all creating their own Project Bloom flower and doing a tutorial on step-by-step how they created it and why they created it. So I am so excited. Artist Kristen Cliffel is here with us today. And she was one of the very first artists that we thought about bringing on for this project. And the reason why is because she uses the flower as a symbol in a lot of her work. So hi, Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Such a great project.
Yes. So I guess I'm going to start off with the very first question. Why flowers in your work?
So I love, obviously, like probably everyone on the planet, I love, love, love flowers. And I love using flowers in my work because they are such an incredible force of beauty and they last for such a short time. And I use them as a symbol of sort of fleeting, beautiful moments. The cherry blossom specifically is something that I've used over time, over and over, as sort of this beautiful ephemeral sense of the everyday loveliness that happens in your household or in your workplace or on a walk. And I love to make flowers out of a really unexpected material that's totally unlike the sort of real flowers. So clay ends up being very hard and rigid. So there's sort of a dichotomy between the material that a clay flower is made of and the real flower. So it solidifies those beautiful moments.
I love that. Now, if you haven't seen Kristen's work, she does a lot of pieces. Many of them are wall pieces with tons of small installation flowers, which will look very similar to how our final Project Bloom installation will look in our lobby. And it was kind of a little bit of inspiration for what started the whole project, to be honest with you. I know, right? We were like, something like Kristen Cliffel. So I'm going to just hand this over to you. So let's just start off with you kind of showing us your flowers and then showing us how you actually create these beautiful pieces for your
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Erica.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to jump right in. So I make these beautiful flowers out of clay, and clay, if you have never worked with it, is delicious. Get some. If it's Play-Doh, if it's plasticine, if it's Fimo, anything, just get some, get your hands on that clay. It feels so good and you can do anything with it. So I have a couple of examples right here of sort of the finished product, and you can go online and see some of my finished products, but I'm going to show you today how to make some flowers that we can actually attach to the Bloom infrastructure at the museum and be a part of that beautiful community garden. So I'm in my kitchen, like probably some of you are, and I have just a sill pot. So you can use a cutting board or your kitchen table if you'd like. And I have my clay right here, just a lump of clay. And what I'm going to do is just tear off a little bit. I'm going to use a rolling motion with my palms. So I'm going to roll, roll, roll. And I'm going to say that while I do it. So I'm going to make just a simple cherry blossom, a little chunkier for the infrastructure at the museum, which will be fun. And I'm going to start off with 6 balls. So I'm going to take my chunk and I'm going to roll even size balls, 6 of them. So just here's the good motion, and you can practice just with empty hands if you'd like. I like that sound too that it makes. So I'm going to roll 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to grab a little bit more clay, 5, and 6. And I like to line them up in front of me so that I can see they look pretty even. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to choose 1 to keep round, and the rest of them I'm going to flatten either with my thumb or the side of my thumb right here. I like to use that. So flatten, if you can see that, and flip, and then flatten. And I like how that sounds too. Flatten, and then flip, and then flatten. The reason that I'm flipping between the flattenings is so that the clay doesn't stick to whatever you're working on. So flatten, flip, flatten. So they're nice and flat. Flatten, flip, flatten. So I've got my one that hasn't been flattened, and then I have 5 petals that will be petals. So I'm going to take this round one that hasn't been flattened and put it in the center of my hand. I'm going to pick up a petal and I'm going to work upside down. So the top of my flower is actually facing my left hand palm. I'm going to glom, which is a technical term for ceramics. I'm going to glom that clay together and just add another one and turn. So now I have 2. I'm going to add the third and just kind of turning this towards me as I'm going. And again, I'm glomming, which is just pushing that clay together. If you have Fimo or any kind of polymer clay, Sculpey, anything like that, it's a very, very similar action. You might have to work a little harder. So I have all of my 5 petals attached upside down. Now I'm going to give this a little hug before I flip it. So I'm going to take it here and just give it a little hug with my other hand. I like that metaphor because we are trying to create with love, and to create beauty, you have to really come to your object with this sort of nourishing energy. So this, I've flipped it forward so you can see it. So now I have this sort of beautiful little buttercup type flower, and I'm going to take it in my left hand and start to articulate a little bit more elegance in each of the petals. Okay, so I'm pinching that out a little bit more. And I love, love, love how flowers move, and they're all just a little bit different, just like we are as humans. And then this has on the back, it's become even tighter, a little bit tighter. You can hug that a little bit more, give it a little bit more love. If you have a pencil or a crayon or any sort of little tool, you can use a kitchen knife. It's a good time now the clay is so nice and wet, to go ahead and take your pencil or whatever tool you're using, come into the center of your flower and bring a line out so that it sort of imitates those sort of folds that happen in a natural flower. I love to approach the center of this flower with just a lot of sort of buzzy energy. I like to say that this is where the nectar is. And so you got to make it interesting. So that center is really a fun place to add a lot of texture. You want the bees and the hummingbirds to go here. You want them to think, ooh, jazzy. I love the smell of this. And I love how it's going to look. And for me, my glaze is going to sort of pool in there and be a little darker. And if you are painting these at home, it's a good place to sort of let the color, even if it's marker on top of air dry clay, let the color pool in there and get a little darker. So I've got my flower here. It's looking more and more cherry blossomy, and I can kind of pinch the back of that to make it a little bit pointier, because what we want to think of is how are we going to add this bloom to our big project bloom. So on the back here, I'm just going to glom that together a little bit more, and I've got a little bamboo skewer from the kitchen drawer, and you can use anything like a knitting needle that's small, and I'm going to go ahead and push through, leaving some of the clay at the end so that when I fire it in my kiln, it'll stay safe. But I'm poking a hole there so that we can add wire to add this bloom into the beautiful garden at the museum. So here it is, my delicious little cherry blossom. Thinking of all of you today out there in your kitchens or your basement craft space or wherever you are, and wishing you a beautiful, beautiful flower making day. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Erica.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We hope everybody can make their own clay flowers and be able to put them up at our museum for our Project Bloom exhibition that'll be up.
Can't wait to see it.
The whole month of February. So thank you so much, Kristen. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Everybody bloom. Awesome.